Andre, and I have to talk about this news story. I usually do not like to talk about movies when they're still in negotiations or in talks, because you never know what can happen between that time period and when the movie actually officially happens, if it actually officially happens. There's been a lot of movies that have been announced and in negotiations we never saw the light of day of, but this one's about Power Rangers, so I kind of have to talk about it. You know, Power Rangers, of course, had a movie in 2017, did not do that well. Beauty and the Beast took it out, and then after that, the franchise as a whole got sold to Hasbro, and so now, of course, Hasbro's going to try to make a movie out of that franchise, and with doing so, probably means we're getting a reboot, and this article that came out in Hollywood Reporter kind of gives that some confirmedness. So here's the article right here, Power Rangers reboot in the works. I'll put a link to the article in case you haven't seen it, so that way you're well informed. The movie is not going to be with Lionsgate, it's now going to be with Paramount, and I'm not surprised by this at all. Even though Hasbro, through their AllSpark Pictures, have made movies from their properties for other studios, so like the My Little Pony movie was Lionsgate, Jim and the Holograms was Universal, the Ouija movies were Universal, but Transformers, of course, as well as G.I. Joe, came from Paramount. Transformers, of course, being their most popular money-making franchises of them all when it comes to turning them into movies. So it just made sense to me. It seemed that it was pretty much inevitable that when Hasbro was going to make a Power Rangers movie, they were going to take it over to Paramount. Of course, this is another reason probably why we're not getting a sequel to the Lionsgate movie, but instead getting a brand new movie because it's going to a new studio. They probably want to do their own fresh take on this. But what I'm hoping is that by it going to Paramount, that maybe that means a little bit more budget can be put into it. When Paramount wants to make that money, they'll spend, you know, they'll spend a little bit of money even sometimes when they don't make it back. So this could mean we could get some really nice looking Zords in this, or some nice looking weapons, or some nice looking suits. Now the filmmaker that's getting behind this is, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, Jonathan Entwistle. Your last name sounds like a Power Ranger monster. I am Entwistle. I twist your mind. He's the creator of the Netflix series The End of the Effing World, which I have not seen, but I've heard people talk about it. Kind of a dark comedy type of thing. I'm not so concerned about that, just because of the fact that, you know, people in the industry can do multiple genres. Just because they are successful with one type of genre doesn't mean they can't do something else. Of course, there's some directors or producers who are great with a specific genre, but there are people who are good at jumping around from comedies, dramas, action films, that sort of thing. But like this article says, just repeating, it's an early negotiation to direct a new feature project. So that means they're just now in talks. Nothing has been signed, nothing is official. The fact that this is coming out probably gives a little bit of like, this is very possible, or maybe they're putting it out there to kind of test the waters and see how people react to it. So, you know, the talks are real. It's just a matter of, will they go all the way through to make this happen? But at the very least, whether he does it or not, it's very clear that Hasbro is already on the fast track to try to get Power Rangers back on the big screen. So then there's just a bunch of stuff about, obviously, the history of Power Rangers. Any Power Rangers fan is gonna know this, but in case you are not aware, Power Rangers, of course, came out with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers back in 1993. They've had several iterations of Power Rangers since then. The Power Rangers have not stopped at all since 93. Some people don't know that. You'd be surprised how many people do not know that, or they, even if they hear that Power Rangers still going on, they still think it's Mighty Morphin 25 some years later. They go, oh, that show in the 90s, or they still making Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 2019. It's like, well, no. There was, you know, some in space and some Lost Galaxies and some some Jungle Furies and some Dino Thunders and some Mystic Forces and some Samurais and Super Samurais and Mega Forces and Super Mega Forces and Dino Chargers. So in 2017, Lionsgate had their movie, made $142 million worldwide on a budget of $100 million. So it made more than its budget, but you also got to consider advertising, and I don't know how the toy sales did. I'm sure that was something as well, but you know, obviously this is not what they wanted. They probably wanted a little bit more money than that, so that's probably why they were like, all right, we're good. So now it's Paramount's turn. Now here's where it gets interesting. This article gives us what I guess is possibly a plot, or at least an idea. Now again, it's saying is said to involve, the story is said to involve, so it could evolve over time of what the final story will be. That being said, the story is said to involve time travel. The story is said to involve a time travel element that brings the kids to the 1990s, I'm assuming 93 era, like when Mighty Morphin started, and in Back to the Future fashion, which is interesting because a lot of people said the 2017 movie was like The Breakfast Club. So now this one is like Back to the Future. They have to find a way to get back to the present. So we're getting some possible time travel in this. Now, you know, let's just call it like we see it, right? They're probably doing this whole time travel back to the 90s because, again, for people who have not been following Power Rangers for the last 25 some years, Power Rangers, for a lot of people, is that show from the 90s. Oh, hey, we're gonna do something with Power Rangers, and it's gonna have some time period where it's set in the 90s when you, nostalgia people, remember Power Rangers. So now maybe this movie will be more of an interest to you because we get to play on your nostalgia rather than trying to establish something new that maybe you looked at and went, oh, that's not for me. That's the Power Rangers for the next generation. They're trying to broaden their horizons. Now, what I'm curious about with this, if they are doing time travel, is how exactly it's going to play when it comes to Power Rangers specifically. Does that mean they're going to be shooting all new stuff set in the 90s and using like the classic costumes and classic characters, but doing it with, you know, a movie budget? Or are they gonna really kind of cheap out? It wouldn't surprise me one bit if they actually use Mighty Morphin Power Rangers footage. So when they travel back into the 90s, you're actually looking at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers footage as part of the movie. Like, it looks all slick. Like, think about it, like the beginning of the movie looks completely slick. It's like the new Power Rangers that you've probably always wanted. Special effects out the wazoo. It looks glorious. But when they time travel back, it looks like a 4:3 video cassette world of Angel Grove, and everything looks old, and they maybe even use old footage of the cast because you know they can use that footage as much as they want. There can be something funny with that, you know, but we'll see what happens with it. It's very vague right now till we start seeing more and more of what the possible script is, if this is even what ends up happening. Again, these types of things can always change in production or over time, but they're clearly trying to play off that nostalgia. That's the only reason I could think of to add a time travel element to Power Rangers, particularly to go into the 90s when the Power Rangers came out, when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came out, to be able to get that nostalgia audience. Now, that being said, when you throw in time travel, when it's something like Power Rangers, that opens yourself up to a lot of possibilities with any era of Power Rangers. You could definitely make some references, some cameos, some quick jumps to other eras of Power Rangers, and that could be a way to finally, which I know some people really want, finally be able to reference other seasons of Power Rangers in movie form rather than Mighty Morphin. It's possible. I mean, obviously, we did Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, but you know what I mean. Or maybe this is the setup, the first movie to get you established with Mighty Morphin that then could lead to more stuff later if they wanted to expand it with other seasons. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not in the room. But these are possibilities. They're all possibilities. Playing that nostalgia card is always a tricky one. You know, sometimes nostalgia works really well. There's a lot of movies that have made tons of money based on that nostalgia, but then there's also been some movies that have not done well because people were like, oh, this is nostalgia bait, I'm not interested in it. So it's all gonna be in how it's done. It's all in the execution. Although I ain't gonna lie though, a Power Ranger movie where they traveling through time, if they travel through time because they trying to protect the Morphin Grid, I'm sorry, Power Rangers Hyperforce the movie. We did that first, okay? Hyperforce did that first. Look, it's a Power Ranger movie. I don't care what the plot is, who the cast is, how it's gonna be done. If you tell me a Power Ranger movie is getting made and released, I will go see it. Power Rangers, look, man, it's just gonna be a tough one to do a movie for because there's gonna be hardcore Power Ranger fans who are gonna want their movie, their vision of what they think the perfect Power Rangers movie is gonna be. I've had some, a lot of my friends have had some, other Power Rangers fans had some. Some of those ideas may be great for the Power Ranger hardcore fan base, but not great if you're trying to make several millions of dollars in the box office. On the flip side, you could possibly come out with a Power Ranger movie that could be on a Michael Bay Transformers level where it gets $1 billion, but is nowhere even close to respecting the property that you would think you would get from a Power Rangers movie. There's all kinds of dynamics. It's gonna be really hard to find that happy medium between general audience and hardcore fan base when it comes to something like this. And it's not the only franchise. I mean, you look at several franchises, they are always struggling with this. All I gotta say is, man, it's gotta work. It's gotta work. I'm pretty sure that if Hasbro tries this and it does not work after having the 2017 movie not generate what they wanted, I wouldn't expect another round of a Power Rangers movie happening. Like, this is probably it. Like, I would say if you want a Power Rangers movie franchise to exist, no matter how you feel about this one, you probably want to go see it. Because if it don't make that money, that might be it. But what I'm also kind of hoping to, as much as I would love a Power Ranger movie, what would be kind of interesting to me right now after watching The Mandalorian is, can we do that with Power Rangers? Like, instead of maybe having a PG-13 Power Rangers movie, could we have a PG-13 Power Rangers series? You would have multiple episodes to really be able to expand the story and the characters and this world that you create for this particular version of Power Rangers. You would actually have that time period to do that. You know, what I'm really curious about, not to say that it's not possible, but I'm wondering if there is a little bit of a difficulty to doing something like Power Rangers as just an hour and a half, 2 hour movie. Because one of the things that we've seen happen with every single Power Rangers movie, even the old ones, is they never know the right amount of time to be Power Rangers because they want to feel like that's the build to get to. But at the same time, we're used to seeing the Power Rangers pop up quickly in a 30-minute show, you know, a few minutes in. It's a little bit different when you're going to see a 1.5 hour, 2 hour movie and the Power Rangers showing up in the third act. Then with the Zords right after it. You know, like, you need like prime Power Ranger time. So if anything, the movie needs to know to do that. Or maybe even pull like a Spider-Man type of thing. Maybe the Power Rangers already exist. Do like a real quick introduction, like a real quick story of just how they got their powers right at the beginning of the movie. And they're already Power Rangers. Especially if you're going to involve time travel, like, we don't have time to waste, you know? So like, let's just get right into it. As much as I want to see them try to make a Power Rangers movie, I think that it would be really cool for them at least to have in their mind, what if we could make a Power Rangers series? Outside of their other series, outside of the usual television show, but like something that's, you know, a little bit more Shattered Grid in tone, but it's something that is different, smaller amount of episodes, you know, shorter season, and it can be on like a digital service or something like that. I think that should at least be a possible thing to do in addition to a movie, or as a possible alternative if the movie thing don't go well. But either way, I'm gonna support it. Power Rangers for life. But you know, man, I'm just bummed about that 2017 cast. I love those guys. They were so good. And I would have loved to see them get a second chance. I would love to see them get their Tommy and see who Tommy would have been. Pretty sure they would have gotten a name talent to make a big name about, oh, you know, this person getting added to the cast. So there's a lot of possibilities that could have been with that. You know, maybe we could have got Lord Zed in the second movie if they would have done a sequel. You know, I don't know. There's just a lot of possibilities of what could have happened. But I'm interested to see what will happen with this. Those are just my thoughts right now. Let me know what you think. I'm sure you have lots of thoughts about Power Rangers, or you're like, I don't know what a Power Ranger is. They still make that show. But either way, leave your comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see here, please subscribe. And I guess there's some other franchises that have been around for a long time that are coming out with movies pretty soon. You know, in a galaxy far, far away. Of course, I'm talking about cats. See you later.